But first tonight, the January issue of Down East is now out, and it contains articles on everything from the revival of a roller skating rink in Westbrook to the annual reader photo contest.
We talked about those stories and more with editor-in-chief Brian Kevin, but we started our conversation with a look at a woman from Brewer doing work on an exceedingly small scale.
We always like stories about people who are hyper passionate about very esoteric things, and what Megan Smith of Brewer does is masterfully create very tiny furniture and other decorative elements that people put in what I guess they don't get upset if you call them doll houses, but they are miniaturists. They are folks who are making incredibly elaborate doll houses, not for the purpose of play, but as a hobby, like you might make a ship in a bottle.
This is something I hadn't heard of, that term miniaturist, and it's quite intriguing. It's a whole little specialized world.
Incredibly specialized, and Megan Smith evidently uses specialized miniature tools, miniature hand saws and miniature awls and things. What she doesn't use, I thought was interesting, is a magnifying glass. She says she has exquisite eyesight, which I believe it.
It comes in handy in that line of work. Another article profiles an institution, at least for people who grew up in the greater Portland area, and the story is about the revival of the Happy Wheels roller skating-arama.
Have you skated at Happy Wheels in the old days?
This is weird. I never have been there in my life.
I mean, I grew up going to the skating rink as a kid, not here, but when Happy Wheels closed in 2019, it left just a handful. I think the story says 4 or 5 roller rinks left in the entire state of Maine, none of them in the greater Portland area. And if you're somebody, talk about esoteric pursuits, who loves to roller skate, that's a big gap in your life missing. So reopened by a fellow who is passionate about it, former employee, a part-time employee growing up, reopened in Westbrook. I guess it's been exquisitely popular. I love the photos in here by Jason Frank, and I love how they capture just the passion of the folks in the story who are so delighted to have this place back.
There is a nice profile in this issue of a woman named Heather McCargo, who is behind a really interesting enterprise. It's called the Wild Seed Project, and its effort is in part to restore biodiversity that's been lost in Maine and across New England and beyond.
By replanting native plants, replacing cultivars that people might put in their gardens, replacing entire lawns. This is all part of this move towards permaculture and away from lawns that are terrible for a bunch of reasons the story dictates. We're not the first folks to write about the Wild Seed Project, but I think what's really interesting is that just in the last couple of years, they have this incredible head of steam. I think it dovetails with a broader movement in the US that the author Peter Andrew Smith covers a little bit, looking at ways we can be more resilient towards a changing climate, looking at ways we can find new beauty in plants that might have been forgotten, and they have sold more native seeds in the last few years. They have expanded their staff, they're raising money. Heather McCargo was interviewed in the New York Times. Interesting group.
Yeah, no, this outfit is rocking. Let's turn to what is always a popular feature, your annual reader photo contest. Several pictures in the magazine. We're going to touch on just 2. One, absolutely charming, 2 porcupines. The picture was taken by Laura Zamfarescu of Monroe.
Yeah, she's a terrific wildlife photographer. She pops up in our calendars from time to time. And, we got 1,200 submissions. And this year, the social media team, as they come in, takes a few to share online and say, don't forget to submit yours and that kind of thing. This one killed on the internet, and then it killed with the judges for this contest. It's just adorable, and it also shows a piece of wildlife you don't often see.
And the grand prize winner in the lifestyle category, photographer Jordan Gunn, with a shot he took out on Deer Isle.
Which just has a certain romance that I think anybody who's ever watched their kids play outdoors in Maine will recognize. Jordan said he's from down south somewhere. His family has vacationed on Deer Isle, had a place there for generations, and you get the whole mystique in one simple image.
That's just like a painting that ought to be hanging in a museum.
I'm still stuck on the porcupines.
I know you love the
porcupines.
porcupines.
They're so cute.
There are other animal shots that Sam fell in love with. You'll find them all and the stories in the January issue of Down East.